Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting of the Community Redevelopment Agency regular meeting December 10th, 2024 at 5:30 to order. I believe we have a quorum. And now would you please bear with me for a moment of silence for our invocation. Thank you. And now the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I guess it's a Tuesday and we're a little off kilter on when we start the pledge. I was waiting for Herman to get fully stood.
We don't wait for Herman, do we?
No, we don't. All right. I believe everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes. Can I have sorry. Clerk, can you read the rules, please?
Yes. Individuals wishing to speak on agenda items must complete a sign-up card prior to the item being introduced. Sign-up cards are available on the table. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions and requests. No sign-up card is required. Citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on all agenda items. All sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to the CRA shall be placed in the box on the table.
Thank you very much. All right, minutes. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Can I have a...
And we've provided the corrective copy on the dais that corrects.
Move to approve the corrected minutes for Tuesday, November 12th, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Can I have a vote, please?
Can we just do it?
Yep, if
Member
everybody
Avery?
agrees, I'll
Yes.
motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving on.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and CRA board members. We are on old business, which is agenda item number 7A. It's the CRA grant criteria update. During the January 9th, 2024 Community Redevelopment Agency board meeting, the CRA board directed staff to review the CRA grant program and evaluation criteria for the proposed changes. Staff has proposed the following changes. Eliminate the 2-year waiting period for approval of the project funding. Include a contingency cover in the grant application not to exceed a maximum grant program amount. Create consistency by changing the exterior grant maximum to $50,000 so the interior and exterior grants have the same amount. And finally, for the projects $5,000 or less, 60% is paid by the city and 40% by the applicant. Sue's here to provide you a PowerPoint presentation that goes over these items, and I'll turn it over to Sue.
Wanted to know if y'all had any questions. There is a presentation. How do I start it? Is it there? There it goes. And this is basically just to show y'all the success of the grant criteria.
Okay.
Obviously, this isn't really relative towards what you're deciding on tonight, but a picture's worth 1,000 words. It skipped. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Okay, so the first one, this is the most recent grant. This is MJ Roots. It's also Roots Kava Lodge. So that was before it was a vacant building at 400 Garden Street. And after it's Roots Kava Lounge and Bar, I think. So it's a tea and coffee shop. There's several employees. I wasn't able to get the amount of employees, but it's really a bustling little business now on Garden Street. So it's really cleaned that up. This next one is really a success story for the CRA, the Launch Now grant. That was $140,000. That started in 2017 and was completed in 2023. This is a multi-use, and multi-use grants can get an additional $50,000, which they did receive. There are 20 apartments upstairs, and I'll go to that, but this is the downstairs. This was a very complex construction job because of they maintained the historical aspect of it, such as the interior of the bank, and you can see that here. I'll show you the apartment next. There you go. So you can see a before, and then that after one, that's the small 1-bedroom furnished. And at the time that they started renting, that one was renting for $1,800, and they are full now, all apartments. And that's the one of the front before and after. So that's a huge success story. That was approximately a $5 million community investment in the community. This is an architect's office. This is Alan Kiesel at 213 Broad Street. You see that before it was a home, and afterwards it has some of the architectural design, the windows, the doors, and in the rear you also see the porch with the windows and paint, etc. This is the North Brevard Historical Museum. They had extensive water damage, so they were able to do some repair that on the exterior only, and also paint, stucco, and they also kept to the historical features. This is the Titusville Playhouse property at 422 Julia, also historic structure. So you can see what it looked like before and after. So, and this is St. Gabriel's Church, which is very important. This is because they're not only a local historic landmark, but also on the National Register. And they received a grant for the roof. That was $40,000. And then there's a small one, Sunrise Bakery and Cafe, for a sign for a little over $4,900. So you can see some of what these grants do. For the fiscal year 2024, a total of $127,000 was granted, approved by the board. If it's under $10,000, again, it does not come to the CRA board. So I wanted to list them out. Let's see. The top three have already received their 75% of their amount, of 50%, if that makes sense to you. But yes, we pay 50, they pay 50%. So, and I wanted to know if you had any questions on that.
Member Nelson?
I do have questions too. It seems like for the exterior grants, there's a provision that the owner has to reimburse us if they sell the place within 5 years. But I wasn't seeing that on the interior grants. Did I miss it? Or is it not there?
It's not there, and the reason is the interior is, let's say it's an interior grant and it's a restaurant and they put a grease trap. So they've made it to where it can be a restaurant, a full-fledged restaurant. That will still be there.
That's true. But it also makes it easier for them to sell for more money.
I have not seen that in my time here at all. No, I have not seen the flipping. And I haven't yet. So, and when I talked to my predecessor too, that really didn't seem to be in it. Because you're right, there is a clause, and since I've been here, we've had one of those exterior that they did pay us a portion back. I think it was within the last year.
Okay. I was just sort of concerned about that and wondering if we wanted to address that or we want to leave it like it is. I know now it's not quite the problem it was in 2016 where everybody was, yeah.
And I think the other reason too is interior is, there's not as much as you can do on the interior because it's for ADA compatibility and to bring it up to code. So once it's up to code, it doesn't pay for painting and putting in a counter and things like that. But on exterior, there is so much that can be covered.
Okay.
So I believe that. And if you would like me to look at that and why, and I'll get with legal to be sure and bring that back to you if you like. Okay.
Member Ball?
I agree with Member Nelson that there's that difference in the clawback provisions between the two, and I don't want to put clawback in the interior grant because I get it, exactly what you're saying. So if those improvements are made and the owner has the opportunity to sell or has to sell, the improvements are still there, and the new owner is just that much more incentivized to come to Titusville and do business. I, for the life of me, am still trying to figure out what the city's exposure is for having a clawback on the exterior, because in many cases, it's the same thing. For example, Titusville Playhouse this past summer redid the roof, and that roof's going to have like a 50-year life or even longer maybe. And there's other major things that can be done. I understand with painting, but still, the improvements are made, and the applicant has to pay 100%. So they have put all their money out, and they don't get a dime of city money until they have fully completed the project. They've spent all the money, all the improvements have made. So I don't quite understand why I'm missing something maybe, but I don't understand why we have to have that particular clause. And I brought it up when we talked about it the last time. If it should increase the value. So if the owner sells, they may not have the luxury of waiting 5 years for what if an owner dies? You know, what if there's all kinds of circumstances where you can find it's not just somebody trying to game the system to make more money on their building, it seems to me. And we get the improvements anyway.
I did research that a little bit, and I could not find any cities, you know how we a lot of times look at our sister cities or throughout the state of Florida, and I couldn't find one that did not have a clawback on exterior. And I can also get with legal on this and bring that back to you, but we couldn't find anything out there. So I can reach out also to the FRA, the Florida Redevelopment Agency, that we all report to.
Yeah. I think if there's some good rationale for why it really needs to be there to protect the city's interests, I'd just like to know, you know, and then I won't bug about it anymore. Okay. The other thing I noticed was, and I just wanted to ask a question about this, the documents that were attached didn't seem to have all those changes, but there were other changes. For example, I didn't see I saw some markups in them, but I didn't see eliminating the 2-year waiting period. So does that mean that that's for the number 8 under the interior? There can be no more than one approval for project funding every 2 years?
No, that will be eliminated.
That's the intent of this one?
Yes,
And
yes, that will be eliminated.
There was not that provision in the beautification grants, I don't think.
Yeah, see, there were some of them, that's why we were making them consistent too. That was, I'll take a look at them, but what we're trying to do is make them consistent. Neither one of them will have the 2-year waiting period. We haven't had an issue with that 2-year waiting period.
And the contingency coverage, I couldn't find anything in the draft documents, if those were completed drafts.
It was already in the interior. I want to say it's under policies and procedures number 8. And then it was added, it's an addition, and it shows an addition in the exterior. So that's the reason the interior one didn't look like it had as many changes, because it already had 2 of the items already in there, whereas the exterior did not.
Is it in the application?
And you are correct, some of this is in the application, some of it's in the policies and procedures. That's why both of them, for each one, were attached.
And is the amount fixed for the contingency?
It is the amount of $10,000. It cannot go over $10,000.
Irrespective of what the request is?
No, if the request is $35,000, then they can't go over that. As you know, so it's got to go to 50. So.
Is the intent of the contingency coverage to cover cost of construction or cost of the renovation that exceeds
Yes.
what the project budget was?
Yes, as you know, sort of like, I think that you discovered the same thing with the Titusville Playhouse renovation, St. Gabriel's, anytime these historic buildings, the North Brevard, so a lot of these come back and they don't ask for the full amount up front when they haven't asked for the full 50,000. Well, if it's at 50,000, it caps there, but say they've asked, like MJ Coop, he asked for, I think it ended up at 39,000. But there's been other ones that really did less, and St. Gabriel's was one of them, and it was 38,000. Well, if they could have gotten the remaining 2,000 at that time, the $2,000, that would have been without having to come back, because when they're in the middle of that huge roofing project with the at St. Gabriel. So that's the purpose of that, if that helps you understand that.
Okay. And the criteria, I'm sorry, guys, I have one more, and that's on the evaluation criteria, and that probably was in there already, but I mean, just how is that used by staff? Is that, some of those are really subjective criteria, so you guys make a judgment call, or does the applicant have to explain how they meet all those criteria? And then when it comes to us, you say, hey, they checked the box on these 3 criteria, but they didn't on this one, or we don't feel like they did.
If it's a question that staff does not agree with, or the executive director of the CRA, then we would certainly bring it to you. Are there a couple that you're referring to in particular?
I think consistency with the goals, that's in both, and that's pretty easy. That's pretty objective. The amount of funds that the applicant pledged to match leveraged against CRA funds. So I'm assuming higher is better, but there's a minimum that's required, so.
We require them
Match.
to show that they can pay for the entire project. That is something that, because it is personal in nature, it's something that we review at a staff level because they're giving us financial information, but it's for 100% of the entire job because they do have to pay it up front and then we reimburse. But we don't put that in your packets just because that's personal information.
Okay, that seemed to me like it was, the higher amount that the applicant agrees, so they go above a one-to-one match that you give them brownie points or something.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, and then I guess I'm not familiar that much with the interior one, but do you ask in your application the number of new jobs? Do they have to say in their application, these are a number of new jobs we expect, and there's potential that the proposed business will enhance economic vitality? Those are fairly subjective. That's the only reason really I'm asking the question is then how do you use those criteria?
We do. As a matter of fact, I was just looking at one today because the grantee actually submitted the final paid receipts. It's 425 Garden Street. And so he's completed the interior work. So what I did is I looked back at the original application, and he had said he anticipated, 4 employees because it was going to be some type of restaurant. So we do ask those questions, and again, it's anticipated, as you know, especially when they're smaller buildings and they have to then lease them out. And they do have to lease them out before they can receive any reimbursement funds.
I'm done.
Thank you, Member Ball. Member Aker.
Well, I was just going to comment on the clawback. I'm sure it's there because some people are going to leverage that. I'm going to buy a building, have somebody else help me with the renovation, turn around and sell it. I mean, you have to err on the side of caution. So I certainly agree with that clause being in there.
Thank you, Member Aker. Member Moscoso.
Thank you. So as a new member, I have a few basic questions. Does the CRA own any property that they lease out or that they receive a revenue from?
Not that. I was thinking. We do own the Welcome Center. And that is.
We had a business in there prior to COVID. There was a bicycle shop in there that generated revenue. And we did have a lease with them, but that's the only property that I know of.
Do we own any other buildings in the area where this building?
And next door,
Okay,
and the annex next door to us as well.
okay.
SunTrust, Fire Department.
Okay, thank you. And then this is another just kind of basic question. I know that we're looking into new types of technology, and I noticed that when people fill out forms, it's just kind of on paper. Or is that going to be something we will have online in the future? Where if they want to fill out these forms, it'd be much easier for them to do it online than fill out the paper and come up here.
We can with grants because some of it is, I normally have to sit down and review it with the applicant because to get the title, a lot of that has to be explained. And because we do want to promote these grants for the city and the CRA, I have found, and we have found that for a while there weren't that many grants being issued. And so I think that people were getting a little bit overwhelmed when they open it up and see all of the criteria. So a lot of times what I'll do is set up an appointment if they want to. I wouldn't mind seeing it all if they could upload it, but we're looking at a program now for special events where they'll be able to upload everything. So we're starting with one department and then hopefully we'll go forward from there. But yes, I would love to see that. Again, that would have to be a part of our overall computer system.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All righty, city manager. Oh, I need a motion.
On a motion? Move to approve the amended grant applications and policies and procedures.
Second.
I have a motion by member Nelson. I have a second by member Cole. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
No new business, and petitions and requests is your next agenda item.
Anybody have anything to say, please raise your hand. Thank you, Ms. Tony.
Tony Schiffelow, Tropic Street. I was riding my bicycle over to City Hall the other day, and on my return home along the wonderful bike trail along Main Street from Scobie Park to the railroad tracks, all of a sudden it unceremoniously ends, and I'm riding in the lane of traffic on Tropic Street facing, or Main Street facing me. And I know it's out of your territory, but I'm here to start planting little seeds. An idea perhaps to work with the coming neighborhood West Titusville and their CDBG grant and see if we can't get some kind of continuation of the bike trail from the railroad tracks to that wonderful part of it that goes up and over Garden Street, so that people like me don't get run over on my way home from City Hall. Thank you.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, the original trail, there's a spur from a railroad spur that actually goes behind Boggs Gas. We attempted through every possible means to include state legislature to try to acquire that, and the railroad said no.
I understand that, sir, and I think that there still has to be some kind of solution so that somebody doesn't get smashed.
Thank you, Ms. Tony. Thank you for the update, city manager, or sorry, executive director, right? Executive director, sorry. Now I believe it's time for your report.
Yep, the executive director's report is your next agenda item. No action items, and we have the items that are informational. Of also note, the Christmas decorations are all posted if you haven't seen it, and the new CRA banners are intermixed within the Christmas banners that look actually really, really nice. You did a great job on that. So subject to your questions, that completes my report.
All right, seeing no questions, next item is adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion, a second, we're adjourned.